Hey everybody, I'm Swanka. That's Julie. Welcome back to the QC. Julie, how are you?
Great, thank you. Happy Wednesday, I think.
Thank you, thank you. So we will be right back after a word from our friends.
This is Luke Goss, and this is one of my favorite places to check out all things movie. Check it out. This is the QC.
Hey, this is Nick Smith. You're watching the QC, the best in entertainment, reviews, and more. This is the way.
This is the way.
This is the way.
All right. So before we jump into season 2, I thought we would do a quick kind of recap of season 1 and talk a little bit about how we got here. And so season 1, I feel like we both started off enjoying the show quite a bit. Is that accurate?
I like all of the Alien and like Ridley Scott in general. It was just really fun. I was looking forward to it, and then we got started, and things immediately went downhill for me.
Really? Okay. Okay. Continue. I thought something different, but.
Oh, okay. Yeah. No. Just the my impressions of season 1. Is that what we're talking about?
So the reason I'm asking the question. So, and you notice I mentioned the snake on there.
Yes.
I had to watch season 1 twice to fully understand it. I'm not sure if I was just daydreaming the first time around or what, but and again, full spoilers for anybody watching who hasn't seen all of season 1. We're going to completely spoil that for the most part, I think. But at the end of the season, our main character, Mother, Amanda Collin, who I think is an amazing actress. I hadn't seen her in anything other than this, and I'm looking forward to seeing her in other things. But she, who is an android, so not a human, becomes pregnant. And the moment that happened, I thought, okay, this show may have jumped the shark because, like, come on, an android getting pregnant, like, you know, she had sex with a guy inside a virtual reality environment. Now she's pregnant. I was like, okay, how are they going to make this seem believable?
Wild.
What I didn't realize the first time, took me 2 viewings to understand, was she actually, when she was in the simulation, she picked up a virus, and the virus manifested itself kind of peculiarly as a pregnancy. And this virus that she gave birth to at the end of season 1 was a snake. Like, basically a snake, very similar to, if you've seen Prometheus, the hammerpede. The kind of like the worm that got the black goo, and for all my Alien fans, you know what I'm talking about. Similar to that, minus the hammer piece. It just kind of looks like a snake that has like really gnarly teeth. But on second viewing, I came around on that piece. Julie clearly didn't. It sounds like. But what were your major problems with season 1? I guess is what I'd be curious to know.
So there are so many themes going on. It's like they couldn't pick a direction with the story, and they decided to go with all of the main futuristic sci-fi tropes. I mean, we have a religious war, we have androids, we have colonizing a new planet, we have hostile alien influences. It's just, to me, there's way too much going on to have any kind of cohesive and any kind of storyline that really makes sense. I did when we were texting earlier today, I did a deep dive back into season 1 because, you know, it's been a year and a half since I've seen it.
Right.
And I will give the writers credit. There's so much going on in the story and intricacies and potential plot twists that we could see in future seasons. But to me, there's just there's one too many elements to create a really good story.
Gotcha. Yeah,
Maybe too many elements.
Yeah, no, I mean, I can see that. So for me, the main theme of Raised by Wolves, for me, which I'm curious if you feel the same way, is really, and I think it's somewhat obvious, but I'm curious if your thought and the people who may be watching feel the same way. It's really the struggle between people who are religious and people who are not. Really, you know, for me, that's really the main struggle. And then we're going to get into season 2, but season 2 for me, like, you have the collective, which is this group of the atheists, right? And they actually now essentially worship this deity, God, however you want to call it, figure, who is an AI. And it's just really, that's really fascinating to me because in season 1, you have this group that is traditionally religious, right? The Mithraics, who worship Soul, and they don't ever actually see Soul. You know, they're worshiping something that they can't really speak to or interact with, except for in their mind. Whereas, and that's the religious group. Now we're seeing the non-religious group actually worship something that they actually can talk to, and that, you know,
they interact with, and who guides their lives. Guides. I mean, like, let's see if that is as benevolent as it sounds.
Yeah. So that's really fascinating to me, and I kind of buried the lead because we're not really jumping into season 2 yet. But for me, I always found it to be very fascinating, and the whole idea behind Travis Fimmell's character starting off as an atheist, who ends up taking over, inhabiting the body of a Mithraic, and then having him become like the leader of the Mithraic people. You know what I mean?
The subject of the prophecy.
Right. Yeah, that's a really interesting development, character development for me. And then Paul, his son / non-son, also is now turning into kind of like a religious zealot. So for me, religion is really the big thing to me of the show. And I find that very fascinating to take religion and apply that to like a science fiction kind of environment and tell a story, which to me, you know, the snake thing definitely threw me off the first time around. Watching it the second time, I feel a little bit better about it, knowing that it was a virus, not an actual baby, and that like there was no actual consummation between her and this person. It was just like, I guess, kind of in her imagination, I guess, because it's a simulation, so none of that stuff really happened, right? Or that's not all clear to me. Is that clear to you?
I mean, so excuse me, allergies are terrible in Houston. No, so what I read into the whole consummation thing was that, I mean, she was experiencing that it was virtual reality. She was experiencing it as it was presented to her while she was out. Like, that was a distraction. Something was implanted in her, or, you know, like because she comes with all of these necromancer abilities that they don't really know of. She's not aware of them herself. The people who created her are not super, like, they used the technology. Like, this is one of the deep dives that I did today. They used the technology to build her that they read about in one of their religious texts. So, I mean, that whole other can of worms of who put that in the religious text that they're reading. But she was, you know, the host for this parasite that she could, by way of her own making, give it like nutrients and stuff. So like she built it with her own body.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think the way they described it was a virus. So she basically, the same way you or I can get a virus on our computer, she is a computer and she got a virus. And, you know, for reasons that relate to this being a TV show, it manifests itself as a pregnancy, and she gives birth to the snake, which is now flying around in season 2. So, all right. So we'll transition into talking a little bit about season 2. So what do you think so far? What do you think of the season premiere and the second episode? The premiere primarily.
Yeah. So, I mean, like you and I, we were texting during it, like, what are we thinking? I'm sure like season 1, we missed a lot of things the first time around. I had every intention of going back today and watching, but you know, life happens.
Sure.
But no, I think it's really interesting because we got to see a lot of the Mithraic culture in season 1 and their fanaticism. So I'm really interested to see how we're gonna see the collective. And like, how do they have the same level of fanaticism with the AI computer that is leading them? Do they have the same hatred? Like, well, no, we did see that. They have the same hatred for Mithraics that Mithraics have for atheists. Yeah, so no, I think season 1, by focusing, the first episode of season 2, by focusing more on the, like, I don't know, the more human struggles, that I think it's going to be a lot more interesting than these vague ideas. So for me, having a much more character-driven plot is way more interesting. So it started out promising for me. I have committed to watching this season with you, Swanka. So we're in it.
Right on. So, yeah, no, I loved episode 1 to season 2. The character of Mother, I love that character. Father, I love that character as well. I've always found it very fascinating, and this is basically Ridley Scott has said this, and I've constantly referenced his position on this in my reviews of some of his movies, is that he's really fascinated by the idea of like robots and sentience and like them taking on more human traits. Mm-hmm. And when I watch Raised by Wolves, and I see like father being jealous of the fact that she had sex in this virtual reality environment. He feels like she's cheating on him and all this stuff. I'm like, dude, you are literally like a computer, and she's a computer, but like they're programmed so well, they're able to manifest these feelings. And for me, that's really fascinating. And like she has a security subplot or whatever they called it, where she's able to like hide the parts of herself that she doesn't want us to know about, i.e. human shame. So the fact that you have these androids taking on these human traits, to me, I find to be extremely fascinating and endlessly watchable. You know what I mean? So that's a fun part, I think, about seeing these robots doing all this human type stuff.
And you raised a very interesting point. You said they are able to manifest these emotions, but then we meet this Mithraic technician who is enslaved by the atheist. She has a daughter who is a mimic. That is literally her role. She is mimicking this woman, this human woman's dead daughter. And so, I mean,
I didn't pick up on that.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay.
She's a replication of this woman's daughter who has died, and she is programmed to mimic that is what they called her. She's a mimic. Sorry, I keep repeating that. But I mean, just like the difference in where is the line between they are mimicking what they observe to be human emotions, or when do they become programmed so well that they are experiencing human emotions? So I think that's going to be a really interesting line to toe in this series.
Yeah, no, I think so too. Do you have any so obviously in season 1, we both were challenged a bit by the snake baby, right? So is there anything so far that's giving you pause or concern about where the show might be going, or anything that's standing out to you?
Just any time that there's a prophecy. Like, prophecies to me are just so overdone, and the fact that like we have multiple characters who may or may not be the subject of the prophecy, it's like, okay, we've seen this before. It was kind of like me and vampires late last year. I'm just sick of the vampire thing. It's been done. It's not very interesting. I feel kind of the same way about prophecies.
Gotcha.
It's lazy. I think it's lazy storytelling.
Yeah, no, I won't disagree with you on that. So yeah, I mean, this is probably going to be a little bit of a shorter episode, just because, or I should shorter stream, because we're really just reacting to the season premiere of Raised by Wolves. Once the season gets over, I'll write a review up and it'll be on the website. But really just wanted to pop in and talk to you guys about how we're feeling about the second season, and how we kind of got to this point after enjoying the first season but having some kind of trepidation about it. So yeah, I think unless you had any other thoughts, I think that wraps up our kind of Raised by Wolves season 2 conversation. Do you have anything else, Julie?
No, nothing for me. Thanks for having me back.
So yeah, no. So before you go though, I want to share something. So this may come as a surprise to you, maybe not. But let me see here. All right, so this went live today. Can you see that?
I don't see anything.
Nothing. Okay.
There you go.
So this is the official poster. Let me take that Raised by Wolves commentary thing off the screen. So this went live today. This is the official poster for the Obi-Wan Kenobi show, and doesn't show too much. Really, it's just Obi-Wan walking through. I mean, the sand. I don't know, was that Tatooine? I don't know, but with us both being huge Star Wars fans, I thought this would be a nice surprise to show you this, because I just came out literally like an hour ago.
Oh no, I haven't seen it.
Yeah, I was going to do a post, but then I was like, it's fine. I'll just talk about it on the stream. But have you been watching Book of Boba Fett by chance?
I was literally watching it right before I signed on with you.
Okay, so you're watching the finale?
No, I am one episode behind.
One episode behind. Okay,
yeah.
Cool. What did you think of? Because a lot of people think the episode before the finale and the one before that are really the highlights of the show so far. Has that been your experience?
Yes. Yeah, they had to bring in other characters from other shows to save this series.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. I think the one thought that I had was and people on the internet are kind of saying this as well, so it's not completely original thought, that if the show had marketed itself as like the Book of Boba Fett, a Star Wars story, rather than Book of Boba Fett, maybe there'd be less kind of pushback on the internet, because he doesn't really show up in 2 consecutive episodes of his own show, and that's kind of unheard of.
Yeah.
But it's more of a Star Wars show than it is Boba Fett. So what do you think
Yeah.
about that?
Yeah, no, I mean, I would agree with that because I mean, like we go into a bit about him, then we go into a lot about Fennec Shand, who is she's my favorite character of the series, and
I like her
then
too.
we're bringing in, the Mandalorian and Rosario Dawson's character, which I didn't watch the Clone. I know she's from the Clone Wars, but I can never remember her name. But yeah,
Ahsoka Tano.
there you go. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just I'm way more engaged watching them, and then the interaction still between the Mandalorian and Grogu. I think that's way more interesting than anything that Boba Fett has showed us.
You know what? I completely agree, 100%. And that's why I'm really excited for Obi-Wan Kenobi, because I feel like I like Boba Fett. The Mandalorian. I was going into that show concerned because I'm all about Jedi, and the characters that kind of surround the Jedi have always been less interesting to me.
Right.
So my thought going into the Mandalorian, this is years ago at this point, because obviously we're just finished the 3rd season of this Mandalorian story, or third season of this world that is not a Jedi centric world, right?
Yeah.
And I love the Mandalorian just like everybody else, and he's a character that I put up there now with, like, maybe not with Luke Skywalker, but he's certainly a character. He's up there as far as like Star Wars fandom. Like, people love the Mandalorian.
Agreed.
And people go ahead. Sorry.
I'm agreeing with you. No, go on.
Yeah. And people used to love Boba Fett, and I think they still do, but I just think now you introduce this character who looks a lot like Boba Fett, who's way cooler than Boba Fett. So I don't think anybody at this point is going to say that they're going to take Boba Fett over the Mandalorian. I don't
think so either.
You'd be hard pressed to find that. So the fact that this Obi-Wan Kenobi show, which I'm sure is going to have cameo appearances by Boba Fett, Fennec Shand, whoever what, but is a Jedi centric show. We're really the first one. I mean, there hasn't been Star Wars hasn't done a show, at least not in this era. There may be something that I'm not aware of from back in the day, but I don't think there is. But this is the first Disney Plus show that is starring a Jedi.
Is Ewan McGregor reprising his role?
He is.
Okay, and so presumably this is bridging the gap between the end of the trilogy with Anakin Skywalker and when Luke meets Obi-Wan Kenobi. Am I assuming correctly?
So I'd be lying to you if I told you I knew exactly the time frame for when the show happens.
Okay. When he's introduced, and we know when he dies. So I mean, like, right.
Yeah, it's got to be somewhere in there. I'm assuming because the Book of Boba Fett occurs right after Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
Yes. So I don't know. Like, is this show going to try to be in the same general time frame so that we can, like, if the Mandalorian pops in, we know we have like context.
We know when we are. Yeah.
So I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know the answer to that. But bottom line, I'm super excited. The fact that we're getting an Obi-Wan Kenobi show that's going to have also Hayden Christensen reprising his role as Anakin. And who knows who's going to show up? You know what I mean? They're talking about Book of Boba Fett season 2 having Mace Windu be a main character. I'm like, Samuel. This is like my mind. I can't even wrap my head around it. Samuel L. Jackson, who's literally, if you go to the top grossing, or in terms of how much money they make every year, actors, he's literally number 1. Having him do a TV show on Disney Plus, that alone is kind of newsworthy. You know what I mean? So, and again, that's not confirmed, but the guy who plays Boba Fett, Tamir Morrison, has gone on record to say he would love to see, because Mace Windu and Boba Fett, I guess, have some history. So he was saying he'd love to see him come on. So how amazing would that be to see Samuel L. Jackson reprising his role?
Sign me up.
So, and Mace Windu's bald, so you don't got to worry about the hair thing. So
exactly, we don't no wigs or CGI or anything for the hair.
Yeah. Well, that was kind of a wacky segue as far as this being a stream about Raised by Wolf. But I thought since the poster came out literally an hour before we went live, I figured we would at least mention it. And we will obviously be covering now that the Book of Boba Fett is over. I already started writing the review for season 1. That'll be live on the website and on Instagram here sometime in the next few days. But yeah, Julie, thank you for your thoughts as always. Appreciate having you on. And yeah, for all your geeky entertainment needs and other types of fun stuff, thequickcritic.com. I didn't even have the banner on screen the whole time. I probably should have. But yeah, thequickcritic.com, at Real Quick Critic on Instagram. And yeah, thank you again, Julie. And we will see you guys in the next one.
Awesome. Thanks, Wonka.
All right, this is the way. Bye.
This is the way.